Welcome back to another. Yeah, that's it. That's the time of year we're in, where everything is moving so fast that I don't even know how to talk anymore. Welcome back to whatever this is, another episode of the Chasing Elephants podcast. We've done over 200 episodes, so forgive me. Yeah. Welcome back. What we're going to do this week, guys, is very simple. Mm-hmm. All joking aside, this is a really busy time of year.
It is.
Everybody's going back to school. Everybody's trying to get your back to school lists and trying to get started well. And by the time you're hearing this, everybody will probably have a butt in a desk going to a school somewhere on a campus.
Yep.
I know a lot of people go online, but your butt in your desk might be a chair in front of a computer at your house. But everybody, by the time you hear this, will be back in school. Now, we talk a lot about high school and redeeming the time, and we've done a lot of episodes around that. But what we wanted to do this week, Dr. Wallace and myself, was go, okay, we have a lot of students that have come through our ministry that have transitioned from high school to university or college.
Yeah.
How do you succeed walking into college? How can you make your college years successful?
Yeah.
And so we're going to offer you, I've written down my 5 ways to succeed in college. Dr. Wallace has written down several ways to succeed in college. We're going to compare notes like we always do. We're going to do this in less than 20 minutes, and here's why we're going to do this in less than 20 minutes. Because I know that a lot of people need this episode, but they don't have time to sit down and listen to a 45-minute conversation.
Right.
So we want to give you 5 ways to succeed in college. How can you succeed in college? How can you win? And we're going to do it in a short, abbreviated amount of time because we know that you're probably trying to squeeze this in between class or getting your day started, and you're off to the races and running, and you're like, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, and I want to make this count. So here we go.
All right, here we go.
Wallace, how do we succeed in college?
All right, number 1, and I think we have kind of a similar number 1. I'd love to get your point, but begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
You know, how you start is so very important. And you talked about something before we were meeting about this, about like the first 4 weeks and stuff. And so it's so important to start with the end in mind.
Yeah, so I would say clarify your goals and your habits and get those established in the first 4 weeks of college. And here's why. Because by week 5, in some university settings, week 6, you have your first round of big testing.
Yeah.
And when there's big testing, it's not like, oh, yeah, let's go to midweek Bible study on that week. No. Midweek test, the first big testing of the semester is going to bring a whole wave of chaos and panic and pressure, and it's going to throw everything out of whack. And so if you don't have your habits and your rhythms established in the first 4 weeks, and this isn't from myself or Jeff, this is something that we've read from a lot of different sources.
Yeah.
A friend of mine named Brian Mills wrote about this in a book called A Different Kind of College Experience, that he had seen this stat come up over and over again.
Yeah.
And that is the first 4 weeks of college determine the next 4 years of college.
Yeah.
So the rhythms and the disciplines you establish in the first 4 weeks will determine the next 4 years. Because by the time you get to week 5 and week 6, those big tests are going to start to set in.
Yeah.
So number 1, make the first 4 weeks count.
Yeah, so you're starting, and with that, you're starting with the end in mind. All right, number 2, if I can go ahead, dude. So number 2, I would say map out your scope and sequence of your coursework. And here's what I mean. Let me go a little deeper on this. It is important once you get into college and you kind of get settled in, that you meet with your academic advisor and take a look at the scope and sequence of whatever major that you're a part of. And so you can look at, okay, here are the classes that I need to take this first, second, third, fourth, whatever the program is, and here's where they're offered. Because some classes, some electives, they're not always offered every semester. So you need to make sure that you look at the big picture. So look at the full, map out your scope and sequence. My boys, they all did this, and which was really, really helpful for them. Is once they started off, they set up an appointment with the academic advisor, and they said, okay, here is what freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year looks like. And then you want to put that someplace, and so you can begin to check off those courses. couple things. The reason why that's important. One is because you want to have a visual. If you're like me, a visual picture of a map of where you're going, right? And then two, for me, and at least it's been a long time, but at least for my kids, it was like, man, I get to see how I'm progressing through my college journey. So I think mapping out the scope and sequence is so very important, so you can see where you're going.
I couldn't agree more. And there's another benefit from that too, and that is, and I watched this in my own son's life. So we're recording this 2 days before I'm about to drop my own son off to college. As he betrays me and leaves home and decides that he's gonna have his own life.
Y'all pray for my brother.
How dare him? But anyways. I can't believe he took the things I said to him seriously.
He did. I met with him a couple of times, and so he repeated everything you taught him.
So, anyways, but no, he was overwhelmed at the amount of classes over the course of the several years that he was going to have to take until he met with that advisor.
Yeah,
and he went, "Hey, can you just help me map out what should I take first? What should I take second?" And what I saw was he literally came out of that meeting a different kid.
Yes.
And so I wrote down, clarity brings calm. And so,
that's good.
Okay, so I need to do these 5 classes this semester that will set me up for round 2 of some of these classes the next semester and start. So I agree with you. You need to have a scope and a sequence. Now, just a word to the wise, and schools won't tell you this.
Right.
But most academic institutions move at a glacier-like pace.
Absolutely.
And they won't admit it. But they do. There is a little ivory tower sluggery that goes on with academic. Everything's got its weak spots. This might be one of them for academic institutions. So they may not know everything.
Right.
But they have the next 2 semesters fully because those professors get paid based on the students that they have that register for their classes. So you have, or at least a lot of circumstances they do. So you have at least 2 semesters always mapped out. And then you have the classes that are required to do that, whatever degree program you're in. In the catalog. So you're going to have to check these off over the next 4 or 5 years. You make decisions based on 2 playing fields of reality. Here's the big picture, like you said. And then here are the first 2 semesters or the next 2 semesters that I know are already scheduled.
Yeah, and just one quick nugget on that, Brent. The reason why that's also important is because sometimes, to your point of the glacier-like pace that many academic institutions move, they also move certain classes around. For example, for Cameron, at that SEC school that he went to, that I wish he wouldn't have gone to UGA, but there was some electives that he needed that he saw, oh man, they're not offered this semester or even in the summer session. So it did kind of mess him. It did mess him up a little bit, but he was at least prepared for it because he was able to see, okay, this class I need it, but it's not offered this semester. And if that happens to college students, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
And that's what academic advisors get paid to help students navigate these situations. That's what they live for. And I can't imagine if I were an academic advisor, it'd be so defeating for a student to be like, oh man, I wish I'd have known this. And you're like,
that's what I'm here for.
You just make an appointment, bro. Okay. Right. The second thing I wrote down, so make the first 4 weeks count. Scope and sequence, you wrote down. The second thing I wrote down was surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yes.
In other words, it's going to be hard. But go to a campus and find people. Now, there's different places to find them, but find people that think like you think. And when I say think like you think, I mean embrace the values that you embrace because you're a follower of Jesus.
Right.
And get those people in your life. If you don't, there's a whole plethora of challenges that can come your way and obstacles that you'll have to overcome. And we don't have time to break all the obstacles down. But ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, college is more doable and certainly can be successful for you if you've got some like-minded people around you. You're going to need some people to run that part of the race with that think the way you think. And my point with that was just being intentional about your community. Like that, it really, really matters. And it also helps in the process. Honestly,
Cameron is in the marching band. So his community, I mean, he has his band community, but what he found within that community are believers within that community. So there's sometimes a community within the community there. And so,
well, that band, I mean, a band at a school like the University of Florida, I mean, there has to be over 1,000 people involved in that.
Total, yes. Yeah, they have 500 active band members, but then they have auxiliaries and staff members, and it is a conglomerate.
Yeah,
it's
that's
business.
over 1,000 people.
I think with the community. So Legend, make sure that you get connected with like-minded people. I think number 4 is get involved. Get involved. I think it is so important that there's a lot of pressures of getting your academics done, making sure that you're in class on time, you're managing your time well, getting your studies done. But I think it's so important that you get involved. Find some organizations that you want to get involved with. Twofold. I would say an organization that kind of maybe is connected to the major that you're doing. So again, I'll use Cameron as an example. He's an electrical engineer major, and so he's a part of several electrical engineering societies and clubs and organizations, because it is furthering, one, it's a community that he can connect with, but it's also building a network of people around him. So when he graduates, this, God bless us, 2025, he's about to graduate from college, and that he has a network of people that he can be with. So get involved. Don't just be, if all possible, just a student. I think it's important that you get involved with some great activities and organizations that are on campus.
Yeah. My third one, and I know you and I both have this on our list at some point, is find a local church to be involved with. Yeah. And listen to me. That doesn't mean that local church has to have the best college ministry on the planet. And when you go to find a local church, their criteria can't be everything has to be as good as the church I came from or I grew up in, or because if you play the comparison game, it'll never happen. You've got to identify what are the necessary values and characteristics of a local church that is a body of believers that you want to temporarily and somewhat sporadically, because you won't be there in the summers and on the breaks and different things like that. But what's a church that you can be involved in? I know a young lady that went to a major university, and there was a really big college ministry close by that had like 700 or 800 students involved in their Bible study every week, and it was awesome. Great worship, great teaching, great community, great food, all those things. And yet she chose to be a part of a church that ran about 70 people. Yeah. And there wasn't a college ministry, but it allowed her to serve in the children's ministry and teach a Sunday school class. And she ended up staying after college in that same town and working a job and then teaching at that Sunday school class for the next 7 years.
That's awesome.
So it it doesn't have to be what is going to be the most. Don't look for youth group 2.0.
Right. That's a good point.
Right. You want to find a community of people, a church that adheres to the values that your home church does, but it doesn't have to be the same personality as your home church. Okay?
Yep. Number 4 for me would be, and this is a Captain Obvious, but I feel like it's important to say, don't make the decision now that you won't compromise your character and your integrity for anything. Especially if you aren't going to a Christian college and you're in a public college, a secular college, whatever, a university, however you want to define it. But make sure that you're walking on campus to say, hey, I'm not going to compromise my character, my integrity. And because of the decision I'm making, that means I'm going to be intentional where I go and how I move. Unfortunately, there are a lot of, my wife and I, we've gone to visit Cameron, and we did with our oldest two on campus. And man, we walk on campus, buddy, and you're like, oh my goodness, my boys are in college, like, cover your eyes, what I mean? And there is just things that are there. And so make the decision on the front end that you're not under no circumstances
Right.
going to compromise your character and your integrity, that you're going to live as a citizen of heaven on your college campus, that you're going to be salt and light, and that you're going to be true to who you are as a follower of Jesus Christ. And I just think it's important that you make that decision in your mind, because when things are going to come in front of you that's outside of your little community of where you live right now, your school, your church, and all that stuff, you got to stand on that decision that you make.
That's right. My fourth one is stay healthy. And when I say stay healthy, I got 4 areas of life. Stay healthy educationally. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
Stay healthy physically.
Yeah.
You can't be a dorm rat and be physically healthy.
Right.
You got to get out. You got to get out.
Yeah.
You got to move. You got to let the sunlight hit your skin. You got to exercise. And there's a lot of ways that you can exercise. You can get involved in intramurals. You can get involved in a class. You can just go, hey, I'm going to walk every day at this time.
Yeah.
If that's, I mean, literally just some form of regular exercise. And that means that, like, maybe you do pizza once a week instead of every night of the week, right? But figure out a way to stay healthy. Sadly, the habits that we form in college, that's our so many people's first chance at complete freedom in the sense of what they eat.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is, usually at home, somebody else is buying the groceries. And then if what we choose to just, like, there's some very addictive, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, and then people call it a conspiracy theory and all this stuff, but the amount of sugar you consume can be a very addictive thing. We know that sugar is an addictive thing. Yeah. And so when I say sugar, I mean processed sugar. Yeah. And so it's just be careful to form healthy habits that you, by way of eating. And then, of course, relationally, which we've talked about, and spiritually. Yeah. So my fourth one is stay healthy. Yeah. And you can't stay healthy if you're a dorm rat.
Yeah. And then my fifth one, which is important, is I'll say is stay connected to wise counsel. Your parents still matter. And here's what I mean by that. I think it's so important that when we get out to college, we're like, oh, freedom, I'm on my own. I'm quote unquote adulting. And I think it's so important that you just understand that you're in a season of a new season of life, but there is still that wise counsel that the Lord has placed in your life through your parents. So don't get out there in college and feel like, man, I'm out here, I'm adulting, doing my own thing. I don't need to call my parents, bring them into certain things that I'm wrestling with. We want to know. We're going to help navigate you through it in a young adult way. We're not going to treat you like babies, but it's so important that you understand the value of staying connected to your parents and caregivers and people that the Lord has placed in your life as wise counsel.
Right. I mean, you're on the road to adulting. You're practicing. But the truth is, I haven't ever met an adult where the only thing they have to do is show up to class.
Right.
It's just recognize it for what it is. It's an incredible opportunity. Yeah. That's a bridge from one phase of life to another. Yeah. That allows you to prepare. Yeah. My last one is this: have fun.
Yeah, there it is.
Now, when I say have fun, I mean the right kind of fun. You don't want
don't be out there in clubs.
You don't want somebody. You don't want your youth pastor to walk on campus and be like, "Put some clothes on." Have some fun. Like there are incredible memories to be made. Yeah, and there's some really fun things to be done and accomplished. And when people think of college in a traditional sense and fun, they typically think of, like, there's some parties and some things and you're experimenting and you sow your wild oats.
No.
Can I just say, like, that's the stupidest thing on the planet.
It really is.
But there's some amazing memories to be had that are fun. Yeah. And so go figure out what are some incredible fun things to do. Yeah. During your college years, there's some stuff you're going to get to do then that you don't get to, you don't get to do. I mean, so go have some fun. Yeah. I remember missing out on fun. Passion is a big thing, obviously. Yeah. And they pack out whatever arena they're in once a year when they do their annual conferences, and then they'll periodically do a tour and fill every room they go up in that, and then they produce music and. It's this huge, amazing ministry, and we know it is this really whoa thing. Yeah. But the very first gathering, Passion One Day, happened in Tennessee, about, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours from my college.
Yeah.
Everybody on my hall went.
Really?
And camped out the night before, and they didn't have any money, couldn't do hotel rooms or anything.
Yeah.
And they had so much fun. You know who didn't go? Yeah. This guy. Right? You know what I was doing?
Yeah.
I was working at the Western Sizzling. I was like, man, I got to choose. And I could have gotten off.
Yeah.
I got to choose. You're laughing at the Western Sizzling. I was hanging out with the smoking section. But you got to, I had to choose between, man, I'd have to give up like 3 nights of tips.
Yeah.
Or go to what's that thing? And there's going to be music in a field and,
Yeah.
Man, they came back. There was a shared memory. They had so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful and amazing. And I don't remember the tips I made.
Right.
But I remember the moments I missed.
That's so good.
And so, I think there's a way to have some fun.
That is so good, man. That's so good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our 5
boom
tips and ways that you can.
All right, read off your 5 quick. I'll read off mine.
Okay. All right. So 1, begin with the end in mind. 2, we want to map out your course and sequence. 3, be intentional about the community connection. 4, get involved. And then 5, don't compromise your character integrity. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Actually, I use my intentional community connection to be with yours.
Okay.
But my 5 is stay connected to wise counsel. That's it. Sorry.
I said make the first 4 weeks count. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Stay active and connected into a local church. Stay healthy. Pursue health. And have some fun.
Yeah. Now, before we go, I just gotta ask, you okay? This my brother. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, listen, my buddy, my dog, Gabe Crow, man. Shout out to him. I know he listens to our podcast faithfully every week, man. Hey, man, I love you. I am proud of you. I know you are going to crush it.
Yeah.
And please make sure you call your mom and dad on a regular and stuff, man, and stuff. And so it's gonna be good, man. I'm proud.
I'm excited for him.
He's gonna do a fantastic job,
I'm
man.
proud of him. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our time. And we are so grateful for you as always, man. You know what we're asking, man. If you really enjoy this conversation, this podcast, please share it, like it, subscribe, all those great things. You continue to follow us at SLU here at SLU Lead, at SLU Lead. Follow me at I am Jeff Wallace and my brother Brent at
Brent A. Crow. See you next time.
Peace out. Take care.